Tonight, a small rise in COVID cases in South Australia, but the Premier says there's still work to be done. And Port Pirie facing a rising backlog in elective surgery.
From our 7 Spencer Golf studios, your nightly news with John Hunt begins now.
Good evening. South Australia has recorded 2 new COVID cases overnight, with the state spending a second day in lockdown. While the small increase is a minor relief for many, for the Spencer Gulf's low-income workers, the end of lockdown can't come soon enough.
Day 2 of a 7-day lockdown. Residents across the Spencer Gulf are waking up to news there was no serious escalation of cases. 2 new ones recorded overnight, a brother and sister in their 20s linked to the Tenerife winery. The Premier thanking residents for following restrictions and staying in their homes.
I think if we had have left this for a further 12 or 24 hours, we would be in a very different situation at the moment.
Over 17,000 tests were processed, the highest number on record. The number of exposure sites rising to 71, with 14 cases now in the cluster. While the news is encouraging, the Premier says it's too early to say if lockdown will be lifted after 7 days.
There is very likely to be further cases, but what I'm hopeful of is that these are cases that are being experienced by people who are already in a quarantine situation.
It comes as a major community organisation calls for the federal government to extend COVID relief payments to lower income workers. Spencer Gulf residents who are on social security and work part-time are excluded from receiving relief. The South Australian Council of Social Services says they shouldn't be left in the lurch.
Those people are likely to be losing work through the lockdown. They don't have rights to access the disaster relief payments.
While sympathetic, the member for Grey says the program only supports those who have lost more than 30% of their income.
I fully understand that living on a welfare payment is not easy. There doesn't seem to be any large change circumstance in this particular case.
The state government will pay $300 to those who are forced to test and isolate due to the cluster and don't have access to paid leave or income support. Mark Zeta, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Meanwhile, in Broken Hill, health authorities have confirmed a local resident has been deemed a close contact and is isolating at home. They're confident every action has been taken to minimise the risk of COVID spreading from Mildura.
Exposure sites and positive cases across the border sending Broken Hill's rumour mill abuzz.
I can categorically say to you that there is no positive cases in Far West as we speak today.
Our health boss saying he's notified immediately of any positive cases in the district.
And certainly our policy is that if there is a report of a positive case, we would be certainly letting the public and the media know as soon as possible.
While there's no known cases or exposure sites in Broken Hill, there is one close contact linked to Mildura.
They're negative, but our public health approach at the moment is even if you return a negative result, you still have to be in quarantine for 14 days.
Weekly testing rates have soared, 381 at the clinic, 94 in the emergency department, sparking a reminder for symptomatic patients.
Please call us first so we can safely test you.
But vaccination numbers have halved. Marimar pleading with Indigenous people to get the jab with comparatively low vaccination rates.
Among the Aboriginal population, again, all over Australia, it's around 6%.
Broken Hill also receiving clarification on border restrictions. SA residents from outside the corridor can't travel to or from Broken Hill. Locals must also follow South Australia's stay-at-home order if they've been there since lockdown began. Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
With elective surgery currently off the table in South Australia, there are concerns waiting lists in Port Pirie may grow. However, authorities warn that COVID poses a greater risk to their health, urging them to be patient.
Elective surgery grinding to a halt. The statewide COVID lockdown seeing non-urgent cases postponed.
Any Category 1 surgeries, that is life-threatening or very, very urgent, will be carried out. And so there is no issues with elective surgery here, with some of it being deferred.
The timing unfortunate for patients, as a Port Pirie surgeon returned to work on Monday following a month-long suspension.
I understand there has been some difficulties at the Port Pirie Hospital in particular, but this is a recommendation of the health professionals to government that elective surgery be shut down for the period of the lockdown.
In a statement, the York and Northern Local Health Network says the health and safety of their patients is their #1 priority, and they will work to rearrange all elective surgeries and prioritise patients with the most urgent clinical needs. Also saying during the cessation of Mr Ali's services, general surgical services were maintained at the Port Pirie Hospital by an alternative general surgeon. The member for Grey acknowledging patient frustration. However, he says COVID poses a much bigger threat.
There is a public health issue here, and making sure that as many of the possible of the Australian public remain safe from COVID. And this, let's face it, is a life and death issue. I just urge you all to be patient.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Port Lincoln Police have fined a number of people overnight for failing to comply with the current stay-at-home direction. At around 4 p.m, a 50-year-old male and a 34-year-old male, both from Port Lincoln, were fined $1,092. Just after 5:30 p.m, patrols were called to a house on Flinders Highway after reports several people were gathered at the property, police issuing fines to 6 people. Finally, at 8 p.m, patrols issued a fine to a woman in Port Lincoln's CBD. Still to come tonight, construction to return on a limited basis in South Australia, and another regional event axed due to the current coronavirus situation. Welcome back. Certain South Australian school and hospital construction projects will restart on Monday, ahead of the lockdown's scheduled end date. Workers will be able to return to COVID-safe sites, with the news welcomed by the industry.
Barren work sites will soon become hives of activity once again. The state government today announcing construction will resume on dozens of major publicly funded projects from Monday. Among those given permission to start, 21 school upgrades, the Flinders Medical Centre expansion and regional road projects.
The property and construction sector is South Australia's biggest private sector employer. So there's a lot of people. In fact, there's almost 170,000 people employed in this industry alone. So it's a massive jobs driver. It's a massive economic driver for the state.
Mr Gannon says the decision to reopen some sites is a great outcome for the entire industry.
Naturally, we also have to have a discussion at some point about reopening broader construction sites. So those that aren't included from Monday, it is important to have that conversation with the government over the coming days to make sure that there's enough time to plan to reopen these sites.
The government says they want to balance getting South Australia back to work along with crushing this COVID cluster.
Look, our government wants every sector back working as quickly as possible. We're doing everything that we possibly can with this lockdown to be extra cautious and to get on the front foot and jump on this outbreak early.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Golf News.
One of the busiest times of the year for accountants now looks a whole lot different. The COVID lockdown seeing appointments shift online, with accountants also offering support for businesses, helping them check their eligibility for financial relief.
Shifting tax time online.
So we do have the video conferencing facilities that it is nice to see a face in a conversation, but I would still say 80% of the appointments are phone-based.
The office doors may be closed, but accountants at Roy Partners are hard at work from home during the lockdown, helping you lodge your tax return.
The rapport thing is probably one thing we're missing, but technology is wonderful. It just allows us to do what we've got to do. I think most people are still embracing the change, but they're happy. Their returns are done.
He says their hearts go out to their clients who are feeling the pinch this time round.
Tax time is only a part of our life. Our biggest part of our business is our business clients, and some of those can't work from home, and they've had to shut doors, send staff home.
Accountants are also providing support to businesses affected by the COVID lockdown, helping them find out whether they are eligible for the latest financial support payments.
We've got the tools in place to help our clients calculate their eligibility to these fundings. So yeah, it's there and ready to go.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Port Lincoln's Film, Music and Entertainment Awards have been postponed due to COVID. The event was set to return on Monday night, after last year's event was also cancelled due to the pandemic. Dylan Smith reports.
The red carpet was meant to be rolled out at the Nautilus Arts Centre for the Fame Awards tomorrow night, before the statewide lockdown postponed the event. It's the second year running it has been affected by COVID, with last year's awards cancelled due to the pandemic.
It's super frustrating for the band and everyone involved because we had last rehearsal on Monday and we were all set to go.
The Film, Music and Entertainment Awards showcases the best local talent from around the region. This year's edition proving popular with the locals.
Super excited about the night. We sold out and, this has been our fastest selling Fame Awards ever in the last 9 years.
The night, also a major fundraiser for the Port Lincoln City Band.
To miss out on the funds, it's huge. It's really the only way we make money.
Performers urged to keep practicing over the lockdown period and work on their skills.
We have encouraged our members to just keep rehearsing, and the singers as well, and the dancers.
With the trophies and prizes ready to be awarded, organisers are disappointed to postpone again.
We've got the trophies made, we've got the cheques written, and we really just want to give it out.
Event organisers are hoping the night can go ahead in the future.
Stay with us. We have the rest of the day's news, including a wintry blast hits the region, and Port Augusta residents urged to be on alert for fruit fly. Turning to the rest of the day's news now, and wild weather has begun lashing the Eyre Peninsula and Spencer Gulf region, with heavy rainfalls and strong wind predicted over the next couple of days. Residents and the SES are on high alert.
Batten down the hatches. Heavy rain and wild winds are coming over the next few days.
Very cold and quite wet and windy conditions through large parts of South Australia, including Eyre Peninsula and into the Flinders Ranges.
Port Lincoln residents waking up to a healthy soaking this morning.
So far, we've seen the most rainfall recorded over Lower Eyre Peninsula, up to about 15 millimetres observed at Port Lincoln so far.
The State Emergency Service preparing for similar conditions that saw in excess of 640 calls for help last week. Residents urged to remain vigilant.
Last week, I suppose, where potentially water was sort of like getting in, just make sure that those areas are sort of like clear.
With blustery conditions expected, homeowners are urged to tie down loose items.
Obviously, go around the house, secure items that are around the house, make sure things are sort of locked away.
The Bureau says the entire Spencer Gulf can expect decent falls.
That will increase to 15 to 25 millimetres through the southern agricultural area, which includes places like Port Lincoln.
Emergency services will remain available throughout the lockdown.
Both our headquarters and regional staff are making plans already for this weekend.
Dylan Smith, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The Mediterranean fruit fly outbreak continues to plague the Port Augusta area. However, with South Australian traffic grinding to a halt, PIRSA workers hope the reduction in the movement of fruit could give them an advantage.
The fight continues to eradicate an airborne pest. Port Augusta's fruit fly outbreak was declared on the 27th of May when a resident discovered maggots in an orange that she had grown at her house. The discovery prompting multiple baiting projects and the removal of fruit from outbreak areas.
So there's a couple of things we ask people to do to help us out. One is please enjoy your fruit, take it home and eat it, but don't move it. There's other options you can take. There's some leafy veg and another thing. If we can manage the movement of fruit, we can stop fruit fly from spreading.
The Department of Primary Industries says the best chance of beating the flies lies with controlling fruit movement. And with South Australia plunging into coronavirus lockdown this week, it is hoped that the lack of traffic could help to reduce the risk of contaminated fruit being brought into the state.
Controlling people movement at the border will help prevent some of that pressure, I guess, on our border. We know that's the case. It'll certainly help reduce the pressure at the border for anything else that might be interstate.
It's very important that everybody locally adheres to the restrictions that are put in place for fruit fly. Look, this is not only a issue that can be raised in Port Augusta, but this is statewide, Australia-wide. This can impact on many business livelihoods and our whole country.
Residents are asked to check their homegrown fruit for maggots and report anything unusual to the fruit fly hotline. Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Plans to explore underground gas reserves in the far west have been scrapped. The state government confirming no further areas will be made available for exploration. Environmental groups and the member for Barwon had previously spoken out over environmental impacts and insufficient consultation.
Really want to congratulate those people and groups who came together, wrote submissions and made their views known to the government that they did not want this in their area.
Energy company Santos saying the policy changes mean businesses will pay more for gas than those interstate. Police are warning Spencer Gulf residents of a text message scam that could steal money from your bank accounts. One regional South Australian has already fallen victim, losing $8,000. Officers say scammers access a phone remotely and steal bank details through a link in the text. They're asking people to not click the links in suspect text messages and emails. Nominations for the 2022 Australian of the Year Award are now open. We're being asked to nominate those who contribute to society and inspire others around them. The award recognises the work done by community members, leaders in their field, household names or unknown heroes. Nominations close on July 31. Stay with us after the break. The SPCA celebrates a significant milestone in Broken Hill. And we'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. Hello again. The SPCA is marking its 150th year in New South Wales, and the local Broken Hill Clinic is joining the celebration. Staff sharing their experiences in a new video series, lifting the lid on their sometimes challenging job.
Candid and sometimes confronting.
A dog was hit by a car. It had 3 legs broken out of 4. It was an absolute disaster.
Debbie Olds has been a vet at Broken Hill's SPCA clinic for more than 30 years. She's opening up for the Stories Behind the Scars series.
It eventually went home, and then when we seen it come back in about 2 weeks' time, it was just ploughing along on the 3 legs.
The Honest interviews released as the organisation marks 150 years in operation, Broken Hill holding a unique place in its history.
We're lucky enough to have one of the 3 veterinary clinics in New South Wales here in Broken Hill.
Rather than a cake, our clinic is marking the occasion with a major makeover. Renovations to begin in October with state-of-the-art equipment also on its way.
We'll be able to offer more detailed diagnostics than what we currently can, hopefully less referrals to specialists in Adelaide.
The technology and faces may have changed, but their passion is still the same.
It makes you feel that you've done something for somebody every day and that you can go home and go, yeah, I feel really good about it.
Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Now, we don't often promote rival outlets, but the 7 Spencer Gulf News team has some fierce competition on its hands. Sherwin, a Year 5 student from St Mark's College in Port Pirie, is keeping his friends updated via his own news segment.
Port Pirie is in lockdown. Breaking news, Port Pirie is in lockdown. As you can see, there's no traffic and no cars here. Be safe, be healthy, enjoy the sunshine in your backyard, and do your homework.
As you can see, he's a future journalist in the making. Well, that's me out of a job in a few years. Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather across our region. With all the details, here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, John, and good evening, everyone. Well, as Dylan reported earlier, heavy rains and strong winds are forecast over the next couple of days, with Port Lincoln waking up to a drenching this morning, with the entire Spencer Gulf urged to brace for decent falls. And here's a fun fact. Our friends in Adelaide recorded its coldest day in nearly 30 years today, getting to just 9. But from 3 p.m, Broken Hill was even colder, reaching just 7. Port Augusta was 12 degrees and Coffin Bay was 9. Looking further out across the region now, Whyalla was 12, Port Lincoln and Clare both 9, Port Pirie reached 13, Woodner 11, Kadina and Cleve both 10 degrees, and windy and wet in Cooper Pedy 21. Taking a look at the satellite image now, thick cloud over southern and eastern South Australia with a low and troughs is generating rain and showers, heaviest in the southeast. Low cloud in the west in onshore winds is bringing showers, mostly clear in the north as winds dry up overland. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Northerly winds 20 to 30 knots, seas 1.5 to 2.5 metres, and south to southwesterly swell 1 metre. Wet conditions tomorrow, Port Lincoln, Cleve and Woodner all set to reach 15 degrees. Whyalla and Port Augusta both 16, and Kadina will reach 14. Port Pirie 15, Clare 11, and Broken Hill is set to reach a high of 12 degrees. Taking a look at the weekend forecast now, windy for Broken Hill and Cooper Pedy on Saturday, showers across everywhere else. Cloudy for Cooper Pedy on Sunday, windy for Broken Hill and showers for the rest of the region. And looking at next week's forecast now, sunny for Cooper Pedy, rain for Port Lincoln and Adelaide, and cloudy for the rest of the region. So it looks like conditions are clearing next week, and that's all the weather from me for tonight. Back to you, John.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Thursday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later, and we will be back tomorrow at the earlier time of 6:30 p.m. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.